All right, welcome to the Side Action, episode 21 of season 5. My name is Jim Weglars, aka Wegs. You can follow me at Wegspool on Twitter and on Instagram.
And I'm Steve Roberts, aka Action. You can follow me on Twitter at 31S Roberts.
Follow the podcast at Side Action Pod on Twitter and at Side Action Podcast on Instagram. So, Hawaii 5 over here, you hit the islands, enjoyed yourself quite a bit over there, didn't you?
Yeah, we had a great time. Just a single island. We spent
Okay.
our whole time on Kauai, but we
Okay.
did go all sides of the island. We hit all the different climates, as you know, and we had a really enjoyable time. Lots of activities: hiking, surfing, golf, everything you can do. We did it.
Swimming.
Swimming, yeah.
You guys were you out there for like 10 days? 8
Yeah,
days?
nine days I think in the end, with some travel on each end.
Yeah.
So it was a good time. I was ready to come back at one point, but then of course we landed and it was like 30 degrees, and I was ready to immediately go back to Hawaii.
Yeah. Ashton's going to figure out a way to live there permanently. She's just got to win more money. Win more money,
Yeah,
Ashton.
it'll be tough though. It's hard to be a sports fan there with the time change, and
Oh,
even
yeah.
tougher to be a gambler because there's like no idea. I mean, it's just offshore books there. So I think I read that Hawaii and Utah are the two states where gambling is actually prohibited in their state constitution. So
There you go. That's going to be tough to reverse, but you could do it, Ashton. You could do it. So that's
how
great.
was
That's
how
great.
was your trip?
Florida was great. The Chicago takeover of Gulfport was complete. I didn't count how many people. I think there were 50-ish people in
Wow.
our group. We had a bunch of Airbnbs. There were some guys that go down there kind of separate from us, but they knew we were going down, so they went down there too. They have a couple buddies that moved down there some years ago. So tons of volleyball. I didn't play. I think I hit like 25, 26 games or something
Damn.
over like 3.5 days, which is a lot. My knee's not happy with me. I'm still a little swollen, but played really well. It was fun. They have that whole bar strip right there by the beach. Got to watch some games there. Some of these games, and then also we hit the St. Pete nightlife and checked out a brewery and went to some kind of really crowded bar and then a dance club Saturday night. So did all that and saw your cousin, as you know, QB1. Checked out the farm and the I don't know what they call it. I call it the finca. It's a farm in Spanish. It's like they've got the horses and the pool and there's a pond and he stocks with fish. I mean, the kids are in heaven. It's kind of an idyllic place.
Yeah.
It's a little bit out there, but and they also have like a crap ton of dogs. They've got all these dogs everywhere. But hey, it's their piece of heaven. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. It is like a farm with all the animals they have running around there. It's a cool place for sure though.
I saw this big like snapping turtle thing crossing this road when I was driving up there. I'm like, all right, it's a good sign. That's a good sign. So, and then the other piece that I put in the open, I mean, I'm kicking butt action. I don't know. I didn't have a great regular season. Actually, didn't bet that much this year because of personal reasons, but hit the 16 parlay in the first weekend. I was so excited to tell you about that. So I just picked all the money line winners from
Yeah.
the wild card weekend, which paid like plus 1250 or something like that. So that was nice to get things going. And then I did also pick, some straight up games, with the spread. So the first week I was doing pretty well. And then the second week, I did just do a simple two-team parlay with the Eagles and Bengals that came in, and then did pick the Jags to cover. We'll talk about that in a minute. The only loser was really a hedge with Dallas to money line because I have. We'll talk about that in a minute. I have so much exposure on the futures. I'm trying to figure out what to do, and that was
Yeah.
one of the teams I was just going to roll money lines if they kept winning. So I knew that the Niners would probably win, but turned out to be a pretty good football game.
Yeah. Yeah, it sure was. I mean, the Cowboys were right in it. It seemed like both teams had a shot to win that game throughout.
Yeah, for sure. Well, as we jump into the divisional games, just to recap, we'll go over these. The Chiefs, they were like they closed as like a 9 point favorite, which wasn't sure why the number kept going up. It wasn't that the Jags had injuries or anything. It just was this confidence in the Chiefs, and we've seen it all year long. They can't cover big numbers, but
Hmm.
more importantly in this game, Mahomes and his ankle, he had a high ankle sprain in the first half. they ended up getting a field goal on that drive, got the lead at 10-7. The Jags couldn't cash in right away. Then Chad Henne took them on this big 98-yard drive or something, or 91-yard drive to get a touchdown, kind of getting a nice lead for when Mahomes came back in the second half. But to me, this whole game was about the Jags missing opportunities. They had that kickoff return. I thought the guy should have scored. He just didn't let Butker tackle him. Then they had the fumble inside the 5. And then obviously Lawrence threw another pick later. They got inside the number. They 27-20. So they got inside the number. They cashed my ticket, backdoor cover. But man, the Chiefs just hung on for dear life to win it.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty clear that Mahomes' ankle injury, despite being so fresh in the game, he was able to return, but he could barely get to the outside on the stretch handoff plays to give the ball to the back. And
Right.
then it was evident that he didn't quite have the same zip on his passes. He was missing a lot of balls high. So, I mean, they weren't quite the normal selves, despite what the stats tell you. I mean, in the box score, they still performed pretty well. But, I mean, the Jaguars had a chance there, too. If it wasn't for Agnew's fumble late in the game, they were going to go in and tie the game right there.
Yeah, I know. It was tough. I was watching with some friends that were rooting for the Chiefs, so I was, of course, rooting in them. We're like, we both win, but that was the critical play. And it wasn't from a hit. It was rainy. You probably didn't get to see the game too much, but it was rainy. Ball was slick, so he just dropped it there. But now the Chiefs, they're hosting their 5th consecutive AFC title game. That's insane. We'll talk about that game in a minute. The other Saturday game was the Eagles. They were 7.5-point favorites. All week, the number is bad. We talk about numbers, what do they say? Uh, squares bet teams, sharps bet numbers. I think that's the phraseology. The public, that's the teams. Even though 7.5 is not a good number, the Eagles were going to pound these guys. I was all over them here in the parlay too, and they just came out and punched the Giants in the mouth. And look, Giants had a good season. You can't fault them for that. But 38-7, this game was over early. I don't know if you got to see any of this one, but it wasn't much of a contest.
Yeah. Thankfully, didn't really sit down and watch this one because it really didn't look like a very enjoyable game to watch, especially if you back the Giants, which I did. But I mean, the takeaway for me was just Hurts looking like he was healthy. I know there were some question marks coming into this game with his recent shoulder injury, but I mean, from all accounts I read, suggested that he looked like his normal self. So that's going to be big going into the NFC Championship game.
I heard some reporting this week that they taught him or trained him to land on his left shoulder if he was running, so he didn't take hits on his right. And so that's good coaching. The running backs, I mean, they had 220 yards or something in this game. They dominated. I don't expect that to happen against the Niners defense, but it was a good sign that they can run the ball with and without Hurts.
Mm-hmm.
On Sunday, this was probably the only surprising outcome, not necessarily the win, because I knew the Bengals were going to be game, but going to this game, the Bengals, I think this game opened as maybe a 4.5 point favorite for the Bills, ballooned all the way up to 6, which to me, I was like, you got to take the 6, and I didn't get the 6. I got 5 in the parlay, but I mean, the Bills, snow, blah, blah, blah. This team got rolled early. The Bengals came out, 70-yard drive on the first one, like 75-yard drive on the second drive, did anything they wanted against this Bills defense. And it was weird. It was the opposite of what you would think. The team that is supposed to be comfortable playing in the snow was getting run all over. And Josh Allen was okay. He wasn't great. He wasn't Superman. But more importantly, I think the Bills just couldn't run the ball again. And their downfall, and they lose 27-10. The game wasn't really that close. And the Bengals they're dangerous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Especially now with the question marks of Patrick Mahomes going into this week. I think we've already seen a huge move in the point spread in this AFC Championship game, and I think part of it is because of how dominant they looked against the Bills last week.
Mm-hmm.
The question marks going into this game was the health of the Cincinnati offensive line, and I think that the weather mitigated that to some degree because the Bills just couldn't get any pass rush on them. And so it'll remain to be seen if the Chiefs can do that this weekend.
And we'll see. We'll talk about that in the handicap. And then the 49ers Dallas game, this was definitely the best game of the weekend. I mean, at least on both ends. Defensive battle, not exactly the classic, San Francisco, the Aikman Young days back in the 90s when they played, but this was a grinder game. And, give credit to both teams that they stuck in there in the end. Dallas looked like they probably should have had some more opportunities in the first half. And then, obviously, 49ers closed a 4-point favorite in this game. I thought that, I was, as I said, I was on Dallas on the money line, but I thought the 4 was a really good number for Dallas. And if you look at it, it probably was. It's just that, Tony Pollard breaks his leg late, kind of like second quarter, like I think it's the last drive of the second quarter. And it just seemed like in the second half, they just didn't have that other playmaker. CeeDee Lamb had a huge game, but besides that, nobody else stepped up, and Dak didn't play very well. And unfortunately, Dallas dropped that key interception on the only touchdown drive for San Francisco. And, the Niners win 19-12 in a low-scoring game, and they're going to their third NFC title game in 4 years.
Yeah, that's remarkable too. I mean, third string quarterback, Mr. Irrelevant. I'm sure you'll hear a lot of that discussion this week. And, despite Purdy not playing well, if they got the one touchdown, I think it was the story for me. It was just Dak's terrible game. I mean, he played out of this world the week before against Tampa, but he couldn't have played much worse last weekend. And ultimately, those 2 interceptions doomed them.
They did. So on the weekend, you had 2 dogs and 2 favorites come in, but all 4 unders in this one, which is kind of the inverse of what happened the week before. A lot of overs came in the wild card round. So as we go to championship Sunday action, I mean, obviously just 2 games. The first game is, I guess it's for you, it's 3 o'clock. It's 2 o'clock Central here. You get the 49ers Eagles in Philadelphia. I had it open as 2 points for Philadelphia. I mean, it was a little bit lower. It ballooned up. It's 2.5 now for the Eagles at home. The total's at 46.5, depends on where you see it. These are 2 really good defenses. I think in my index, these are the 2 best teams, actually, of the 4 remaining teams. They were the 2 best teams to start off the playoffs, too, in the playoff index. You've mentioned Hurts as a storyline. Purdy has kind of been tempting fate with these INTs. As we go over the injuries, McCaffrey's on the injury report. I don't know if you watched this game, but he was definitely, he had something on his calf where he was like stretching and he had some sort of stim machine on it. It looks like Elijah Mitchell's currently on the injury report as questionable as a groin. I'm sure these guys are going to play. And then the Charles Omenihu defensive end, he's questionable with his oblique. I'm sure those guys are all going to play, but we'll see. And then Hurts is not on the injury report, although Hurts is not really 100%.
Yeah.
But A.J. Brown is the wide receiver, his hip, he's questionable, although I'm sure he'll play. And Avonte Maddox, the cornerback, has a toe injury who's questionable. So I'm not sure if the injury's playing that much. Besides, McCaffrey could maybe get injured in game.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, the biggest question mark is McCaffrey because he's such an integral part of that offense. Elijah Mitchell came back and got some run out last week. But, I mean, outside of McCaffrey, it just seems like Purdy looks at Kittle play in and play out. And I believe that the Eagles defense is going to key in on Kittle this weekend. So I project that the 49ers offense is going to struggle a little bit compared to what we've seen recently.
So I've been watching both these games pretty closely because, I have tickets on the 49ers and I do like them. And they're the highest rated team in the index, by the way. In the first half, they have not been running McCaffrey. It's like almost on purpose. They'll run him 2 or 3 times. They run Debo a lot. At least they have in the first 2 games. And then in the second half, they switch over to McCaffrey, Elijah Mitchell split, and they give those guys the ball a lot more. I'm not sure if this is because McCaffrey, Mike and I actually, your cousin and I were talking about maybe because he's just explosive. Defense is a little tired, like try to pop big runs in the second half, or it's just to get pretty comfortable throwing the ball because it's the same kind of script. I don't like it. I think they should start running the ball early. This Eagles defense isn't great against the run. They give about 120 yards a game on the run, so I'd expect them to try to attack via run more. Any thoughts on that? Why they're doing that?
Well, I mean, I think it's a little bit of both. They are trying to leave some of that for the second half because they want the element of surprise. And I'm sure it has something to do with his injury too, just making sure that he's fresh for the key parts of the game. the Eagles defense has been run on a little bit recently, but last week they held
Yeah.
Barkley in check. So I'm not so sure that the Niners run game will be able to have much success either. I'm projecting this to be a pretty low scoring game. I like the under quite a bit.
Yeah, me too. I do too. On the Eagles side, I mean, assuming Hurts is throwing the ball okay, I think that they've got to win via the pass. I mean, I'm
Hmm.
not saying they're not going to run the ball. It's a running a six-pack offense, running team. But this Niners defense, I mean, the speed. Look, the two defenses last week, Dallas and San Francisco, the speed on the field was incredible. I mean, between Micah Parsons and Van Der Esch on the one side, and I mean Warner is just he's a machine, and
Yeah.
Greenlaw's really good. So I don't know how much you're going to run on this team. You obviously have to do it to set up the pass. I think where they can win is the AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, on the outside, and maybe get a little bit of action with Goddard,
Yeah.
here and there.
Yeah. And I think that third cornerback for the Niners is the one guy that all these teams pick on. So it might even be the third receiver, whether it's Watkins or otherwise for the Eagles. But I agree with you. I think it's going to be Hurts in the passing game. They're certainly not going to go away from the Hurts rushing attack, though. I like Hurts rushing prop over the attempts because I think last week it was like lined at 9.5. He didn't quite get there,
Sure.
but presuming we'll see a similar number this week, I like him to go over that rushing attempts prop.
Okay. So for the game, I mean, I wrote in my article that I do think the Eagles are going to win the game, but 2.5, I don't know. I do think Purdy comes back to earth. I think this is the game he throws a pick,
Mhm.
maybe a pick six. He's gonna screw up in this game. It's just a matter of time. The 2.5 does seem like a lot for me. Would you take the points or lay the points in this one?
I would lay it. I think, like I said, the Hurts injury question mark was the biggest reason I had Philly rated where they were. And after seeing that game last week, I bumped them up 1.5 or so, which gets me to like 1.5 on a neutral. And I
Right.
think that this number is about right. Probably should be closer to 3. I know that we're seeing that move in the market in terms of the juice, lots of minus 115s and minus 120. I don't
Mhm.
think it's going to get to 3, but I certainly side with the Philly minus 2.5.
Yeah, I was hoping. I knew it wasn't going to get to three, obviously, but I was hoping with this injury news, maybe it could grab a three with San Francisco. I probably am. Kind of like last week, I've got a lot of Philly exposure here. I've got them to
Mhm.
win the NFC at pretty low odds, just 220, and then
Nice.
obviously win the Super Bowl at 5.5. I do have the Niners win the Super Bowl at 6-6, so I can win either way. But I think I'm still gonna probably just take the points with the 49ers in this one, just to kind of hedge a little bit. But I do think the Eagles win this game, and 2.5 is not hard to cover. Both kickers are pretty good, unlike last week with Maher and his struggles.
Yeah, I mean, and if you do like the dog, both of these games are in the Wong teaser range too. I mean,
That's true.
you could take the Niners up to 8.5 if you want to pair them with Kansas City at this point in time.
Yeah, exactly. Good point. Okay, so it sounds like, yeah, Eagles all the way for you, and I do feel I did pick them originally in the article, for the preview and then also this week. So, I'm not against you there. Second game, intriguing, right? Bengals Chiefs. It opened as the Chiefs were 1.5 point favorites or 2 points at home. I've got them now. I checked Rivers before, and there it's more like they're 1 point dogs at home, but it's gotten up to 1.5. I've heard some shops have gotten up to 2.5 in this one. Totals at 47 or so, 47.5. So with the move down today, I'm assuming somebody must have saw Mahomes at practice, and that's what moved the line. But that's the main one. But McCormick's out the game. But you've mentioned it already. Those three offensive linemen are still on the injury report for the Bengals. I don't know if they're going to play at all. And Jonah Williams, Alex Kappa, and Ted Karras. And then I saw Trey Flowers popped up too. He's questionable with a hamstring. So it's not like both teams are coming in 100%.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, the Bengals definitely still have the same question marks on the line that they did last week.
They did.
So that's not going away. Although I did hear a report that these backups, quote, that they're rolling with this year is the same line that got them to the Super Bowl last year.
Sure.
So they're not without experience at this level of the league. So, I mean, this is a really tough handicap just because of the Mahomes question marks. I saw on the local news here just before we jumped on that there was video of Mahomes at practice today, and he was just like walking and stretching. So according to them, that's a practice, a full practice. But I just don't see how there's any way that Mahomes is going to be anywhere close to 100%. And that was the main reason for this line move. They did get up to 2.5, and I think there was a release yesterday afternoon by Adam Chernoff and his new company on the Chiefs, and that's what immediately moved it back to 1 late yesterday.
So here's the thing. We know that the Bengals have beaten the Chiefs 3 straight times. You know, they beat them in the playoffs last year. They beat them in the regular season both times. They did come back in all of those games. So the Chiefs were up, couldn't hold the lead. And I don't know. I think the key play and the key matchup is the defensive line for the Chiefs against the offensive line for the Bengals. Can they get to Burrow? Can they stop the run? Because that was the thing last week. The Bills couldn't stop anything. They couldn't stop the run or pass. It was, you know, guys are running open and Mixon was going wild. I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're going to try to take away at least one aspect of the game. Certainly, Burrow's great. And again, in my article, I picked the Bengals here, but I feel like there's value on the Chiefs, man. I'm with Chernoff here. Chiefs at home, dogs. Ugh. I mean, now obviously if Henny plays, throw that out the window. But and then to factor into my discussion here, I have a Bengals future ticket. You know, I think that's my biggest ticket. It's 7-1, but I don't have anything on the Chiefs. So I am going to bet on the Chiefs regardless. Whether I'm probably just going to go the +1. I'd hope it would be more points, but it sounds like you might be siding with the Chiefs, though.
Well, no, I did put in a bet. I also have a Bengals ticket at 20-1.
Oh, nice.
So I also am in a similar position to you, and I did take them at 2.5 yesterday when I saw that note come through, just as a hedge position, because I kind of figured with Mahomes eventually getting announced in that this game was going to go trend down towards pick'em, which I expect fully that it's still going to get there this week. So I think that Kansas City is going to have a hard time though if Mahomes can't be his normal self, because the Bengals defense has been playing at an elite level so far in the playoffs. I mean, what they did last week against Buffalo was uber impressive, and you know, the Ravens the week before that. So I'm interested in that side of the ball mostly this week.
So, and this is the thing about that Ravens Cincinnati game. I mean, the Ravens probably should have won the game. Is it just familiarity, you think, or do they just have a different, you know, a tougher defensive line? I mean, obviously Roquan Smith's fast on the second and the linebacking crew. I'm not sure they have that same kind of speed with Kansas City. I think the defensive line for Kansas City is pretty good. I don't know about their back end. And the other thing is, like, Kelsey, I still don't understand how teams, like, he had 14 catches last week or something crazy. You got to think the Bengals are going to make somebody else win. I just think it's Pacheco. Can he run the ball against this Bengals front? And like you said, they stopped the Bills, but maybe the Chiefs have a little bit better offensive line.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, Cincinnati run defense is 11th ranked, and you know, that's top third. Pacheco has been looking very good lately, though, so that's going to be an interesting matchup to watch. They're certainly going to have to rely on him a little bit more this week, I think. The question, though, is are they going to change up the game plan? I mean, surely they're not going to try to let him do those stretch run plays all game. I mean, they're going to be running out of shotgun, which should change things a little bit too.
No, you're right. Running out of shotgun is totally different. You don't get ahead of steam for the running back, and also there's no play action or minimal play action. So it's going to change the game plan. It's interesting. Like, going to the game, when I first saw the line, I should have hit the Bengals then. When they were 1.5 point dogs, I was like, oh, that's a mistake, you know. And within 24 hours, I couldn't bet it. I don't have all the outs. I don't have the offshore outs anymore, action. So I was in Florida. I had to wait till I flew back. By the time I hit touch ground at 2:00, it was already Bengals, -1, -1.5. So the game flipped on me. So now I don't really know what to do per se, besides protect my futures position, whatever.
Yeah.
So, but anyway,
any opinions on the total for you?
I think it's going to go over the total. I really do. I mean, it already moved to 47.5.
Yeah.
I'm assuming there's, like you said, that one video, Secruder video or whatever, the Bigfoot video of Mahomes walking on the field, that moved the line already, the total up to 47.5. I think there's going to be some points here. I don't think it's going to be, I mean, certainly not like 55 or something like that, but I think these teams can both score in the times that they played the last three times. I know that's Mahomes being healthy. Both teams have gotten into the 20s. It's not like it's last week. I don't think you're going to see a performance like you saw with the Bills where they only give up 10 points. I don't think that's happening this week.
Yeah, I think that's I'm with you. I like, especially at 47, which is a key number. Looks like there's still quite a few available. Going over 47 is a long way away from what it opened at 52.5. There's a ton of key numbers in between there.
Yeah, for real. For real. Yeah, so you might be right. Maybe I should look at the teasers because these numbers are screaming teaser, although the teaser has not been great lately. I mean, I guess if you did the what was it, the Eagles Chiefs teaser, that would have been
Yeah.
fun. But besides that, on the season, the teaser is really, I don't know about you, but I lost early in the season. I just stopped doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, they definitely took a beating early on, but they've come back to life the last couple of weeks of the regular season and certainly in the playoffs. So
Yeah, gotcha. Okay. Do you have any conference championship tickets, or it's all Super Bowl winner tickets?
no, the only futures ticket I have left is that Bengals Super Bowl ticket.
Yeah, because you like the long shots. And when did you get that? At the beginning of the season?
No, it was like mid-season. I think somewhere around October. Once they kind of faltered after that Monday night loss to Cleveland. It was somewhere thereafter, and then of course they went on a tear since then.
Nice work. Nice work. When you look at these four teams, though, I do think these are the four best teams. At least, I mean, the Bills kind of threw a dud out, but they're definitely the four best teams. And I mean, the Bengals have won a ton of games in a row. So, and the Chiefs essentially have too. The Eagles had that little swoon when Hurts was out, but with Hurts, they basically don't lose. And then San Francisco hasn't lost since they picked up McCaffrey. So these are red hot teams. It should be really good football. What's your plans to watch this weekend?
Just gonna lay low this weekend. Watch at home. Looks like we're gonna be getting more snow all weekend long, so I'm sure I'll be in and out of the sidewalk driveway shoveling.
Yeah.
But just gonna watch from home. How about you?
I'm going to Four Shadows. I haven't booked a
Nice.
table or anything. I just got to show up and get there early. I'm going to get a couple people to get out there and watch some games, and pretty excited for it. Even if it's the betting at this point, I'm excited about the betting, but I've done pretty well at one way or another. I think I'm going to cash some of these future tickets, so feeling
Yeah.
pretty good. So I'm excited about that, and I like to go back there. So that's exciting. Yeah, yeah. Lay low. I mean, I've done that too, but what am I doing? You got somebody to watch the games with, so.
I'm gonna do the last few days of January dry too, so I got a late start.
Cool. There you go. You got the whole 6 days of dry January. Congratulations. Was it dry down out in Hawaii or no?
No, no.
Wow. Way to make the sacrifice. So next week, as a programming note, obviously the Super Bowl is 2 weeks after this Sunday, so there'll be a week off of football. We'll recap obviously the championship Sunday, but we'll go into a kind of a mini college preview for the season because after the Super Bowl, then we're all college basketball the whole time. So we haven't had a great chance to do research. We've been busy, but that's our second favorite sport. We'll be doing the Vegas trip. March 15th through the 18th or 19th for March Madness. Pretty excited about that. And I did get to watch a couple games the last few days, but I got to dive in deep.
Yeah, I mean, I've been pretty much focused on the Big Ten. I haven't really ventured outside of that. So we'll do a little bit of research, see if we can get you some more information. I do know that it's wide open this year. Even the top ranked team loses week after week. Houston just took a huge loss last week.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, to Temple.
yeah.
Not that good. And your team, I mean, your guy, Edie's, he's up for player of the year and all that business, but they're still susceptible and they don't play defense. I don't know, you got to talk to them actually. Maybe they'll play a little D once in a while.
Surprisingly, top 20 in Ken Palm defense this year. So maybe we can finally break the Purdue curse. We'll see.
We'll see. We'll see. All right, buddy. Well, enjoy the weekend, everybody. So follow us at Side Action Pod on Twitter, at Side Action Podcast on Instagram, and follow me at Wegspool on Twitter and on Instagram.
And follow me on Twitter at 31S Roberts.
All right. Enjoy Champ Sunday, everybody.